What's up, YouTube? Old Bry, BG Model Workshop. Yeah, that's not too bad. That sounds pretty close. What's going on, folks? Hey, it's Brian, and we're doing a final. Finally, we're doing a final on our Duesenberg SJ Towncar. This is a Hubley kit. If you're not familiar with Hubley kits, you should be, because they are a part of the modeling world history. Um, It's actually a metal kit. We came across this kit through our good friends Tom over at Rambler 69 and Mr. Charlie Mack over at Mr. Charlie Mack, and they were doing a build, and they had come across the third kit. I believe, if I remember correctly, they needed some parts. They had gotten a kit, figured out something else. They had this extra kit, and they didn't quite know what to do with it. So one of them had contacted me and asked if I would be interested in building the kit. And I was like, you bet. I have heard of the Hubley brand before. I never thought I would see one in real life. Well, we talked for at length about the kit and everything, and then we made a deal, and then it got sent off to me. And then when it showed up on the porch, I went to pick it up, and I was like, oh my goodness, what am I in for? This thing weighs about 10 pounds. I think it's made out of lead. So got it in the house, opened it all up, started looking through what we had got, and as a model builder of many years now, you open up a kit, you pretty much know what you're dealing with. You're like, oh, here's this sprue full of engine stuff. Here's this sprue full of interior stuff. This must be the wheels, type of thing, because they're black, round, and rubber. But when I opened up our kit, I was like, what is this? I don't know what I'm looking at. So I started doing some research on Hubley kits and stuff, and I was like, oh, okay, there's just so much flash on this particular one that and that's just like a hallmark of the metal kit from back in that time period. How old is the kit? I don't exactly know. I'll have to leave that to old Tom to answer that one. But I was a little intimidated at first until I sat down with a pair of nippers and started just taking off chunks of flash. I had written Tom, and I'm like, am I going to need a die grinder to work on this? And he's like, no, just get a pair of flat nose pliers and then just snap off the stuff. And I was like, oh, okay. So I did that, and I sat out in the garage and did that out there because I didn't want all that metal stuff on my desk here in the workshop. But that stuff, I tell you what, guys, that stuff was razor sharp. As a matter of fact, I ended up getting a flash wound. Huh? Let that sink in. But no, I once I started working on it, I really got into the kit, and I was very, very excited about what we were doing. So much so I knocked my camera over. But I was very, very excited about what we were doing, where were we going. I started building the frame. That we just did like a gloss black type of thing, nothing fancy. And I was putting off the coach work for absolute last because I could not decide on a color scheme for this dude. And I'd seen photographs of these town cars being like all one color, like a super dark blue or some jazz like that. Don't roll, stay. Yeah, it's a roller. But I'd seen one that was like a dark cream and then like a light butter color cream. I thought that was very stately. I was very impressed by that color scheme, but I couldn't find any paint that would replicate that correctly because, the color shading needed to be just right. So I thought, well, let's go with some contrast colors, something that's a nice contrast so you don't have to worry about being too close to one shade or the other. So we ended up picking TS30 Silverleaf for the body color, and I believe this is the can of paint I painted it with over a year ago. And then I do know this is the can of paint I used on the car because I haven't used it on anything else, but they have TS11 here, Moron. So that painted up real nice. We used the Tamiya primer on there, and then the colors laid down beautifully. The thing was that Tamiya primer does not seem to be a primer that likes being on metal. It's designed for styrene, I guess, because if we bump this or nick it or something like that, the paint just comes right off. So doing final assembly, when we had to put the body on the running board bit, That was fun, because all we had to do was just tap it and the paint came off. So I'm thinking that the Tamiya primer might not have been a good choice for putting on metal. Am I wrong? I could be. Maybe it was a thing. Maybe it's something on the metal or in the metal that's not allowing the paint to adhere to it correctly. But hey, that's the theory we came up with. So that's what we're reporting. Um, our white walls, those are actually vinyl cutouts that Mrs. Rambler 69 had donated to us. She had figured out how to do these on her Cricut machine. And then Tom sent us out a set, and then with a little tutorial sheet on how to apply them and everything. And the only thing we had to do was actually just make a slice in them so that we can get them to overlap a little bit because of the way tires are done and all that kind of jazz. So it turned out really, really good. I like the look of the white walls on there. They actually look really authentic, like it was an insert on those tires back then. I'm not 100% sure on that, but yeah, so this is all kinds of historically authentic, isn't it? So having finished this in October a year ago, there's very little I remember about the struggle of building the car. I just remember the good parts of it, the things that made me want to keep going when we were seeing that little bit of light at the end of the tunnel. It's like, oh, let's just keep going type of thing. On the trunk bit, I didn't attach that permanently because I still hadn't decided whether or not I wanted to trace over all of the mold lines with some bare metal foil, something like that. The other guys did that. Tom and Charlie did that on theirs, and I really like that look. So that might be something that we go and copy for our own. The kit comes with a little sheet of acetate for doing the window films, but ours was extremely yellowed, and also the sticker sheet, it's not decals, it's a sheet of stickers. It's a paper with an adhesive back with the printing of like the interior door panels and stuff like that. That has somehow gotten adhered to the acetate sheet, and when I tried to separate those guys, I soaked a little bit in water and I tried to separate those things. It didn't come apart very well, and then the acetate sheet was extremely yellow and brittle also, so I used it as a template to cut my own film for the windscreens. And then the only thing I did use from the acetate sheet was the stoplight lens, because this actually, I think, it does say the word stop in there and has a little bit of fernelling like printed on the lens. So we used that and just colored it up with a Sharpie and glued it in place, and I do like how that looks. And we're walking. So the interior, we got a little tricky with the interior. I wanted to experiment with this a little bit. I did not glue my lid on either because A, I wanted to be able to see inside there, and B, there isn't really a good way to glue the lid on there. Oh, look, there's a spot. Don't show that. But I'm gonna move that out of the way too because that's gonna fall out. But we're gonna tempt the fates here and take a tip. So we did some little rope door pulls. We borrowed some stuff out of Mrs. BG's jewelry making kits, made our own window cranks and door handles, and then I did a flat over the seats because I wanted it to look more like a velour. And then we used some felt color, some maroon colored felt for our carpeting, and we ran those up the sides a little bit and used a piece of styrene stock to make an embarkation line there, colored that all silver. And then the forward paneling area, we painted all that maroon also, and then just sort of left it. I couldn't think of anything to do with it other than just highlight some handles and stuff. I really like how Charlie went about doing up his, because he did pinhead stuff like that to make it look like fasteners and everything. So that was a really good touch there, sir. Good job on that. And then we did foam paneling on the sides there. I was originally thinking about doing some grooving on the foam to try and replicate like a pleating or a tuck and roll or something like that. Through experimentation, I discovered that wasn't a good idea. I didn't have the skill set yet to do that, so we just left it as it is. And then let's get up to the business end here. So under the bonnet, we have the supercharged, which is why it's known as the SJ rather than just the J. This SJ engine, and we decided to wire ours The spark plugs that stick up through there are just really nicely detailed. So I thought just adding a little piece of vinyl tubing on there and then some extra wiring would be perfect. And then we did a distributor cap cover. I had seen in some footage that I had looked up that several Duesenberg engines would have a distributor cap cover. And they look like they were made out of leather. And it looks like something that the mechanic, who probably was the person or the caretaker for that particular car, had fashioned in order to keep water or something like that off the spark plug wiring. So I thought I'll make a distributor cap cover that'll help save me from having to drill out the cap and add all the little wiring and stuff like that in. So it was a nice little cheat on our part. I do have to do a little bit of a touch up here and there on it, but it seems like it's been weathering the elements here pretty well at the house on the shelf for the last year. It is a big dust collector, but it is the only model I have in my collection that I can actually use a brush to clean off the dust and not have to worry about knocking it off the shelf, because it does weigh quite a bit. I don't have this on a very high shelf because I'm worried about it falling off and cracking the concrete slab that's under our house here. But yeah, this was a fun build. I really enjoyed working on that, and I really enjoyed being part of something. It was like probably the first time I'd ever done a buddy build of this caliber. So I mean, I remember talking to Charlie and Tom about things and stuff. Charlie and I were going back and forth about the steering, how that was supposed to be connected to the steering wheel, and he elaborated about that a lot in his video about how bad that was. He said I remember him telling me, I'm a mechanic and I can make anything work. And I was like, okay, cool. When you get a solution, let me know. I'll try that also. And a week later, he contacted me. He says, this is crap. So I was like, okay, no worries. We'll just leave ours alone also. So there you have it, guys. There's the Duesenberg SJ Towncar. I'd like to say thank you to Tom and also to Charlie for thinking of us when it came time to depart this kit. And I'm very, very honored to have been approached to do this. So thank you guys very, very much. And you never know. Maybe this will make it to Acme in 2021. So fingers crossed, fingers crossed. But we'll see you guys a little bit later on. I apologize about the length of this video. There was a lot to cover. And hey, happy Halloween, everybody. We'll talk to you later on. Bye now.